Connection is unstable. Please wait while we try reconnecting. I don't know. There we go. Let's try this again. Are you going to be stable this time? Maybe. But howdy, y'all. This is just kind of an impromptu live. It's as much because it's easier to me when I'm just going to be talking. It's as much because I think it's going to be easier for me to just do live streams. Maybe not. We'll see. And if someone comes on here to chat, then we will have a good conversation, right? So shalom, and how are y'all doing? All right, so I want to kind of get into the whole ammo shortage and what all's going on in my area. Just a little bit of what's going on here. People want to freak out, and I get it. There's very little ammo. Very little ammo, and I get, freaking out about it. And if you have not been preparing, gathering up ammunition, resources, training, etc., I get it, and you are way behind the curve. You are way behind the power curve on that one, because if ammo does come back into availability and does go down in price, and it's going to be a while. If when it comes available, I don't think the price is going to go down. Although, just in my experience right now, in my area, I can't speak for the rest of the country, and I can't speak for online sales. But my area, the price of ammunition hasn't gone up a great deal. I mean, it has increased in price. And good luck finding 5.56, which is something I want to get into. Excuse me. Hopefully someone joins in. But if not, we'll get into it anyway. But all right, so I went to the local establishment for ammunition, and sells a lot of other things too. But so I go there, and I have been regularly, right? I've seen pre-COVID numbers, I've seen post-COVID numbers, stalking. And when this whole COVID thing really hit, there was nothing. But that was like that everywhere else. Because everyone went in and just bought everything. I can't remember. I think it was the Set Apart Homestead. I watched a video of theirs. And someone that they know, of course, go down that rabbit hole far enough and nothing's like it says. But someone they know says that the U.S. military, U.S. government is buying up a lot of 5.56, which would make sense if they were, because it is the rifle round that they use, right? And it's America's rifle, the AR type rifle is it's America's gun. And it makes sense that we wouldn't have that available because everybody and their brother is stocking up on ammunition. People that, said, well, crap, all I've got is daddy's deer rifle. I need to get me something with some semi-automatic capability because this world is going to pot. So you have all these people, and now they not only get the gun, they buy up magazines maybe, depending on how far ahead they've thought. But now they've got to get ammunition for this thing. I mean, you can't have a toy without batteries. I mean, a gun don't do any good unless you've got ammunition to put into it. So, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have to buy up your ammunition. Now, couple all of that with the fact that your firearms manufacturers and everybody else is having to deal with this COVID-19 crap too, which that's another story for another time. We'll get into that later maybe. But your firearms dealers are, and the manufacturers are all having to deal with the social distancing bullcrap just like everybody else. Now throw in riots and the world's really going crazy because everybody and their brother is buying up ammunition. Now, my most recent trip, I went on Sunday. That was my most recent trip to this store. And I'm going to tell you what I found that they had. So there is hope for you guys who are behind the power curve, okay? And you are kind of limited to what you can have and what you can get right now. There was a lot of, single shot shotguns available. I didn't really look too much at the firearms specifically. There were some handguns, mostly revolvers, but there were firearms available. Ammunition was some was available, and this is going to vary state to state, right? And even store to store, right? Good luck finding shotgun ammunition. Well, that's not entirely true. They had friggin' field and target loads, birdshot, and they had the Aguila mini shells. They're like 1.75 inch 12 gauge shells. And I actually got some of them in the slugs, and they for what they are, they really pack a pretty decent punch. They'll chop down some trees. I chopped down some trees out there the other day. I bought a couple bricks of them, but they are available. There is some shotgun ammunition available. Most of it, I really wouldn't want to use in a self-defense situation. I would use it for its intended purpose, but like the Aguila mini shells, those were available, and people don't like those because they're smaller. But okay, most likely you're talking about a home defense situation. You're not going to be able, you're not going to want something that penetrates. You don't want heavy penetration. You want something that's made for in close, and that does the job. So they had that. That was what was available in the shotgun realm. They had some 9mm, some hollow point. They had one kind of hollow point, and that was it. And one kind of Full Metal Jacket, and that was it. They had some 40, um, some 45. They had the only 5.56 you could buy there was in an ammo can, and it was like $750, and I can't remember how many rounds it was, but it was like $750 for an ammo can full of 5.56. And the only reason that it's there is because your average Joe can't spend nearly $1,000 in one pop for an ammo can full of rounds. I just, your average person can't afford that right now. You know what they have fairly steadily had available? 7.62 by 39. What is it that people talk about? They say, "Oh, well, you are never going to be able to. You can't get 7.62 by 39. It's a terrible choice for an SHTF firearm because you won't be able to get the ammunition." Well, if we're not in a SHTF of sorts, I don't know what SHTF is. Now, albeit, I still get up every morning and go to work. But the way that this country is going, this country is in a state of chaos. And if this isn't a sort of SHTF, I don't know what is. And you know what? About the only intermediate rifle cartridge, I'm talking something that's not a hunting caliber. 5.56, 2.23, 7.62 by 39, right? Talking that kind of stuff, right? And the only one that I have been able to find affordably with any kind of consistency, and they are pretty consistent about every time I go there. They've usually got a stack of them. They didn't this last time, but they usually do. They had the 7.62 by 39. And other than that, what they had was your 300 Win Mag, 308, 30-06, your more traditional hunting calibers, 30-30. They had some 30-30. They had all of that. So you have options. They are just not what they were a couple months ago. If you don't have a firearm, first off, I would recommend a handgun. 9mm 45 as kind of the standard what everyone recommends, but you do you. I wouldn't go smaller than a 9mm. I know that. Not for a defensive gun. That's just me. If you want 380, then go for it. But I personally, 9mm. Man. So that's me. And that is what was available. And I don't know. What do you? I'm going to ask, and then no one's joined in at this point, but I'll ask, and y'all can leave in the comments below, and we can discuss it at a later date. What has your experiences been like lately with finding firearms and ammunition? like I said, a lot of the stuff is available. You're limited to one kind. Like there was one brand and one type of 9 millimeter hollow point, and then there was one type, one size box of 9 millimeter full metal jacket. There was one kind of typically like one kind of 7.62. What they did have. Now, there was a lot of stuff that was pretty well cleared out. And I don't know how much the potential bankruptcy, I don't know, maybe they went ahead and declared bankruptcy, but supposedly Remington is declaring bankruptcy and going to sell the company to the Navajo Nation, which, hey, go for it. I don't know what outside factors are playing a role, but I really think that Remington probably, this is just my opinion, and I'm not in that industry, so it is strictly my opinion, but I would say, just knowing what I do about business and people, and too many people probably got their hands in the cookie jar and wanting, a little bit of piece of that, little piece of that pie, and they're, they probably made some, poor decisions in expenditures and developments. And you got a lot of companies out there, a lot of newer firearms manufacturers that are actually innovating and doing a lot more innovation. And I would say that Remington is probably more sticking with the more traditional stuff, but it is an emerging firearms market. I mean, it's a changing market. You do have your guys that they just want their their basic hunting rounds and the basics of this, but then you have people out there that are gun nuts and they want the crazy different folding stocks and collapsible firearms and this, that, and the other. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there in the firearms world. And there is room in the market for a lot of competition because there's a lot of people that want to buy a lot of different guns. But that's my personal opinion on Remington. And, maybe someone watches and has, some insider intel, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's just kind of what I surmise. But I think it'll. I don't look for Remington to go away. I really don't. Um, it's going to be like Toys R Us, honestly. Toys R Us declared bankruptcy, and somebody bought them at the bottom of the barrel pricing, and reopened them with a different name, and now they're back in business, right? This is what these big corporations do. So I'm not entirely worried about Remington. But as I was kind of hinting at the fact that 7.62 by 39 is available, and but I was kind of hinting at that, and it does pose the question of how important is it really to have an AR-15 or something in a 223-5.56, because everybody and their brother is using one. So everybody and their brother rushes to the gun store to buy all the ammunition. But hear me, I'm relatively uninterrupted in that particular field. Now, this isn't the whole AKAR debate. I'm just talking about sheer ammunition availability. I'm not getting into that debate because, we could have a, proverbial tallywhacker measuring competition for ages, and nobody would nobody would prove anything. Uh, but they both are good guns, and they both have good points and positives and negatives. Um, and then I'm not going to say which one is the better one and which one is better for you, and it just that isn't. But it is interesting because it is a less common rifle than the AR. So the ammunition is not being bought, I would say probably not being bought at the rate that people are buying up to 5.56. And that can be a kind of a double-edged sword, but it's just something that bears thinking about. I think it is interesting. And well, I would say it's folks. I'm going to be trying to do a live stream on Monday. Anyone who's interested, I may see if I can figure out how to set up like a preview or something. But we're just going to kind of talk about wherever the conversation leads, preparedness stuff, Navy stuff, whatever. We'll talk about whatever. If anyone's interested, meet back around this time on Monday. Unless something changes in the schedule, in which case I will try and make a notification about that. So, anyway, for those of you who do watch this after the fact and have made it clear to this point, I appreciate you. Thank you. Y'all have a good day, and God bless. I am out as soon as I hit the button. Yes, sir.